Each year, athletes from across the globe converge on Haines City, Florida, test the limits of their bodies and the resilience of their spirits at Ironman Florida 70.3. This documentary invites you behind the scenes of an athlete's return to triathlon after a forced 4-year hiatus, a story of grit, ambition, and unwavering dedication. From early morning swims to relentless training rides beneath the hot and humid summer sun and pounding footfalls on winding roads, we will witness the evolution of a competitor with a humble and grateful heart striving for redemption. But this is more than a race. It is a voyage through adversity and triumph. Through moments of doubt and bursts of inspiration, there will be setbacks and surprises, victories large and small, and the discovery of the true meaning of perseverance. Join us as we chronicle the milestones and missteps, the sweat and celebration culminating in one unforgettable day. This will not only be a tale of athletic determination, but a portrait of the human spirit, undaunted, unbreakable, and ever reaching for the extraordinary. Welcome to Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. Welcome to Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. I'm your host, Coach Justin. I'm head coach and owner of Tabula Rasa Racing. This is the end of week 15 of the prep for Ironman Florida 70.3 in Haines City, Florida. The race is on December 14th of 2025. I've been coming to you every single week to summarize the preparation for this race. This was a 16-week training plan, and so this is week 15. I had a 2-week taper programmed from the start, so this is kind of the first week of taper. And I think overall, I think it was a successful week. As you know from some of the last 2 episodes, I've been dealing with a new kind of injury. So I developed some posterior tibia tendonitis. And so this week I was able to get another massage. I was able to actually get in to the PT and start some work on the ankle, trying to increase some mobility of the ankle joint and do some dry needling as a way to kind of draw blood to the area to try and help speed up the repair of the tendon. So I can just tell you, let's kind of jump right into this. Kind of feeling a little tired, and so I kind of want to do some additional recovery, get into the Normatec tonight. So I'm going to try and make this a little on the shorter side. So week 15, as I said, was week 1 of taper. I had a training plan of 13 hours and 15 minutes for the week. I executed 13 hours and 22 minutes of training for this week. So let's jump into the different components that we have. The swim, I had a planned swim of 8,600 yards for the week. I was actually able to get in 2 wetsuit practice swims into the pool. The pool that I normally swim at, has been kind of struggling a little bit with the dependability of the pump and the heater. So there have been a couple instances where the heater's gone down, so the water's gotten kind of cold. And so I took it as a sign to just bring my wetsuit more often for my weekday training, just in case the heater was down. But it was a great opportunity anyway to just still continue to get into the wetsuit, get a little bit more practice, work on the mobility in my shoulders within the wetsuit. I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, I've been kind of eyeballing the temperature of the lake down in Florida for the race, and I'm nervous. I will say that. I've seen measurements where water temperature is about 65 degrees. And I got in the pool one day and the temperature was around 77, but that was without wetsuit. And it felt chilly. Normally the pool is like 84 degrees. It's pretty warm. It's like bath water. So if 77 felt like that, it kind of, I don't know, made me nervous a little bit. I have swam in cold water before, and but I've always had a full sleeved wetsuit. So this is kind of the first step into a sleeveless. I did rent a sleeveless wetsuit at Ironman Louisville back in 2018. It was cold then too. That was a year where it was cold and rainy, and they ended up shortening the swim because the current was just too strong. And so I swam in that with a sleeveless wetsuit. So I'm just going to go with it and I'll be fine. I'll admit I'm a little nervous on, in swimming in those kind of temperatures with a sleeveless wetsuit, but it's too late now. I'm not turning back, and I'm not altering what I swim in. This is what I've been practicing in, and this is what I'm going with. The other wetsuit that I have that's fully sleeved has a tear in it where the seam is kind of split down in one of the legs of it. And I don't feel like dragging it. It's harder to swim in, definitely. It's a lower quality wetsuit than what I've been swimming in now. So I'm going with what I've got. I'm seeing some really good times into the pool, and I'm swimming relaxed. And so I'm excited to kind of see that kind of performance. I know that Ironman Florida 70.3 is known for a slow swim because the way that they've laid out the course based on the size of the lake, it's shaped as an M. So it's like you swim out and you cut over and then you swim back towards the shore and then you swim back out again, cut over and then back in. So it's shaped like a giant M. It's unique. I've never done a race with this kind of setup of a swim. So it's unique. Ironman, the M, so the M dot. And it's kind of comical a little bit. So that's about it. I mean, I got in some solid. The swims were solid. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I got in I did two 2,600 yard swims during the week, all wetsuit. They were 500s. Is how I laid those workouts out, and I felt good swimming them. The effort was there. Some of them I would allow the effort to kind of build as I would start the 500. So I was purposefully practicing going out a little bit easier, a little bit more relaxed, and then allowing it to kind of build as I got deeper into the set. So I'm thinking, by the time I get to maybe that first, 300 yards probably of the swim, going at it, nice and easy and relaxed. And then probably once I get to about that first turn buoy to cut over, that might be a time where I kind of like start to pick it up a little bit. But I've never seen this. So there is a practice swim on race weekend. So I will definitely try my best to get out there and at least get into the lake and kind of see how it feels, what visibility is like. I imagine it's just any kind of standard lake where you really can't see all that well. But as I said, I've never been there. My long swim was on Sunday, and they were 1,500s. So it was a bit of a cutback from what I'm used to swimming. Sundays are usually about 3,600. This one was 3,400, shaved off a couple hundred yards, but I still wanted to increase the length of the intervals. So I bumped it up from 1,500s, and I felt good swimming the 1,500. So I was happy at the end of the swim where I felt like I definitely could have swam more if I wanted to. And so I'm taking that as a big boost of confidence in the water. But that was not done with the wetsuit. I still cannot kick in the water. So all of my stuff was done with a pull buoy and paddles on the Sunday swim. During the week, since I was in the wetsuit, my body position was already up into the water, so I wasn't too concerned about the pull buoy, but I did swim with some paddles. So I changed things up from the earlier swim in the week were just straight swims. The 500, I just swam them straight in the wetsuit. On Friday, I did the exact same swim, but did odds and evens. So it was the even. So I did four by 500s, and I'm just going to open up the workout here. Yeah, they were 4 by 500s. Odds, I did no paddles. So that was on interval 1 and 3. And the evens I did with paddles. So I just did that just to kind of just change things up. Um, you know, just trying to entertain myself because 500s are still kind of lengthy to swim, and you know, it's taper week, so I wanted to have a little bit more fun, and I didn't want to swim the same swim that I did earlier in the week, so I wanted to break it up a little bit. But that's how I did. I was pretty happy with it. Let's go on to the bike. I had a planned duration of 4 hours and 50 minutes on the bike with a long bike of 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was a successful week on the bike. I put my bike into the shop to have it tuned up and a race check just to make sure that things are good. I had a tire that had to be replaced, and, so I had them, put on the new tire. And I mean, I've spent a lot of money at this bike shop already. So I'm hoping that I don't have to put this thing in the shop anytime soon to try and recover from all those expenses. But a lot of my stuff this week on the bike were just kind of like some tempo efforts. I had one earlier in the week where I did the ramp ups. So they were the 2-minute ramp ups. I didn't push that into a zone 5 effort. I just kept it maxed at a zone 4. And so I did, 2 minutes at zone 2, 2 minutes at zone 3, 2 minutes at zone 4, and just would cycle through. So those are 3 rounds. It was a 30-minute workout. I had some more zone 3s and zone 4 intervals on Tuesday. The endurance ride, which was a more prolonged effort, where I was, it was a 20-minute zone 3 effort that was in there with a 10-minute zone 2. I really like having these kinds of workouts, at this stage of the plan, because I expect my effort on race day to be a zone 3 average power effort. So I really like having these longer tempo efforts at this stage because it's really kind of like dialing in that feel, what it feels like to be at zone 3 for just a prolonged period of time, the kind of focus that I'm going to need. I'm tuning in to kind of like how the body is feeling, at that effort. So, I can easily kind of monitor how I'm feeling on race day without being glued to the bike computer to see where I'm at. I typically do not race that way, where, I'm trying to, monitor closely what my power is and my cadence is. I will look at it from time to time, but I don't race based on it. So I really like to race by feel. And sometimes I know when I'm going too hard, and then it's verified when I look down at the computer and it's like, yep, that's what I thought. I'm feeling a little bit hot right now, and the numbers are proving it. So then I can either back off or just say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. Let's see where this takes us. Sometimes I'm a little bit more cautious though, because I have to save some, the point is to save some of that energy for the run. So you can't ride an Ironman 70.3 or full 140.6 race course as a cyclist. You have to ride it as a triathlete. So you always have to kind of keep in mind, what it is that you have to do next. So you're purposefully holding back in stages of that bike, because you really don't want to overbike, because there's no such thing as a bad run and a good bike split. I mean, what that simply means is that you overbiked. You rode too hard on the bike and you didn't have enough in the tank to execute a run. So I've purposefully been practicing that over past couple of years, really kind of trying to hold back on the bike so it sets me up to run better. And it's paid dividends for especially this year. And, I think that my bike training focus this year has definitely been the right way to go about it. When I did the sprints and Olympic earlier in the year, I rode more than what I really needed to. And I've done that for this race as well. I've purposefully overtrained on the bike, because, for this race, my run is the weakest part of the 3, given the issues that I've got and the strategies that I've had to implement this year. But I've really enjoyed the bike training, and so I've enjoyed the time in the saddle, and It's gotten pretty cold here in Virginia, and we've had a couple bouts of some snow already. And so, a lot of my stuff has been stuck on the trainer lately, which I probably would have done regardless of weather because of the condition of the ankle. I don't want to put myself outside and start riding and then have things just go not as planned. And, the ankle starts to break down or whatever, and it gets too fatigued and I start to experience pain. At least if I'm on the trainer, I can just jump off and just call it a day. But, when you're out there riding, you have to get back somehow to where you started. So that's kind of been the approach this week. My long ride this weekend was on Saturday, and it was like I said, it was a 2 hour and 20-minute ride. It was a pure kind of like zone 3 tempo effort. After, a nice warm up and some zone 2 to kind of build the effort, I did 4 rounds of 20 minutes at zone 3 with a 10-minute at zone 2, still sticking with the cadence targets that I've got. And my approach to it is I wanted to have a progressive approach or a progressive execution of it. So the first 20-minute zone 3 interval was at a low end zone 3. And then I wanted the next round to be higher, and then the next round higher. And the last one should have been at the top end of zone 3, borderline zone 4. And I didn't really get on the bike with that plan. I kind of developed it while I was riding, and I was like, this sounds like a good approach to use. It feels right. And, it's always good practice to have this progressive approach and letting these sessions build and let the effort build throughout, because that's what you really want on race day. I mean, you want a negative split. And if that's, running, you want your pace to be fastest in the second half. For the bike, I like to try and see if I can get my average power higher in the second half than in the first half. And really I don't really pay too much attention to the spread between average power and normalized power. My bike computer only shows average power, so I don't ride by normalized. And so I have a feeling, my gut's telling me that I could probably see an average power in zone 3, but a normalized power might be closer to like the zone 4 range. And that's probably how the race day is going to go. That's the way that the training sessions have seemed to have gone. And that's kind of what I've been observing. I do have the nutrition plan down. I know how to execute that. I'm comfortable with it. My body is absorbing what it needs to absorb. The Saturday ride was good. It was executed well. I felt good. And so Sunday, I had another kind of endurance ride where there were some zone 2 and zone 3 efforts. And so I felt pretty solid on the bike. The ankle is holding up. I can feel it gets a little sensitive every once in a while, but it's holding up well. I'm able to put pressure on the pedal with that foot. What I'm finding is that really when I kind of like drop the heels, especially if I'm going to go up a hill, that brings a little bit of sensitivity. And I'm going to test this out next week, which is like the last week of tapers, race week. I'm going to do some big gear intervals that week in one of my sessions to kind of see how the body responds. Because believe it or not, Haines City is characterized as a rolling course. So they found hills in Florida somewhere. I don't know where they found them from, and they're not speed bumps. So it's good to I want to see how that body's going to respond to a little bit of a higher pressure on the pedal to kind of crest these hills. I think it should be, I think I should be fine. I've tested it a couple times with some big gear efforts, but they were pretty short and just some little bursts just to kind of see how it responds to it. But it did well in those. So this is going to be like my first workout since getting this injury with a prolonged big gear effort. So I'll talk about that next week on how that went. So not only when I dropped the heel, but this external rotation of the foot. So when I push my foot out kind of to the left, so it's my left foot. So when I push it out to where you walk like a duck, where your toes are pointed out, that's uncomfortable. that's the point where that tibia tendon, the posterior tibia tendon, is stretched right around that ankle. So I can feel it. It's pretty uncomfortable, especially when I get on uneven ground. I have a I have a path that's in at my front door where it's got these big landscaping rocks, and that's a pretty ginger walk through the rock bed, walking out to the car. Because of that unevenness, my foot kind of rocks, and it can sting a bit. So, but I'm doing what I can, managing the effort, doing the small things is what really matters, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I think that about does it for the bike. Like I said, I had fun on the bike. Nothing really to write home about. I mean, they were just long, long efforts, working on maintaining that focus. So, next, let's go to the run. And there was no running this week again. It's just not ready for it to even test to see if I could do it. So what I did do is I did a little bit of a test on an elliptical. Now, I know that it's not the same as running. It does bring in some muscle recruitment that is similar to a run stride. So, especially the way that I execute my elliptical sessions. So, if you go to this week's training plan, that is it's on the Tabula Rasa Racing website, you'll see the structure of those elliptical workouts. It's not where I just get on and I just kind of like hold on to the handles and I just glide. Basically, that's not what I do for elliptical sessions. They're very purposeful, they're structured, and I do them for a reason. The first time that I got on there, it was a little sensitive, but it was overall a success. I think I kept it at like 20 minutes or so. So there were some 20 minutes and some 30-minute, and my longer ones were 50. So yeah, I did some 30 minutes. Yeah. So that's what I did. So some were pretty uncomfortable, especially the ones that I would do in the evening, because by that time the ankle's pretty fatigued, and then I try and get on the elliptical and stress it out a little bit more, and it wasn't happy that night. But I find if I get up and do it first thing in the morning as part of a morning session, it feels a little better. But I was being purposeful with the warm up, so I would go and do some stretches and things that my PT showed me, recommended that I do. They were stretches that I had done before, but it was a nice reminder to kind of tell me what I could do. And so I would do those before the session to try and get some things stretched out and get it moving. And I did I woke up one morning with kind of a bit of a headache. And so I took some acetaminophen, some Tylenol, and to knock out the headache. But I think it kind of helped dull the pain in the foot because I felt pretty good during that workout, and it was just nice. It was a nice reprieve to kind of like do something without a nagging little thing here and there. So I enjoyed that one. I knew full well kind of like why I was feeling that way, so it's not like I went full barrel, because I was feeling good. I didn't do that because that's pretty stupid to do. So, but the elliptical sessions were a success, I feel. I still got that glute engagement, those quad and hamstrings, kind of got them fired up. I got the flexion of the foot, engagement of the calf muscles. So it was worthwhile. I'm glad I put them in there, and I'm glad I was able to execute it, especially since I wasn't able to run. Walking is still a little questionable right now, especially if I'm not present and really thinking about how my foot makes contact with the ground and how it leaves the ground. So I've found that if I'm purposeful and I roll through the foot strike of my walk and really kind of like push off with my toes, so it's like heel, midfoot, ball, toe, push off. I find that if I rock through it, my ankle is less painful. It feels better. But if I just kind of like put my foot down, but don't really roll through it and just kind of like pick my foot back up, then that hurts more. So I find that pretty interesting because I wouldn't have thought that. It's counterintuitive. So I'm not quite sure why it's happening that way. But anyway, if I'm more cognizant and I'm more present and focused on the walk, walking across the gym or walking around the house. That's what I'm practicing. I'm practicing really kind of being present and mindful how I step. So I think that's about it for the elliptical. I mean, it's the elliptical. What can you talk about the elliptical? It can be kind of boring, but the workouts that I have developed and designed, they're pretty engaging. So it's not, it keeps me motivated, it keeps me engaged, and so they were enjoyable to a certain extent. The next one is the strength work. This was the last week in the weight room. I do not have strength sessions planned for race week. I have done that in the past where I would just kind of like do a simple deload on race week, but these were shorter races. They were like sprints and Olympics where I knew I could recover from them, and I front loaded the week with the strength stuff. But I purposefully would deload the weight just to kind of keep that engagement, keep a little bit of tension in the muscle, which I think is good. But I did not go with that this round for this race. I removed the strength for week 2 of the taper. So I did my normal execution, still pushing weight, and I felt good. There were no hiccups or anything like that. I felt strong. I felt engaged. And so I got in the full 2 hours and 37 minutes of the planned 2 hour and 35 minutes. So a couple minutes long, but, got in all the core sessions as well. So this was a fully green week. So I'm pretty happy about that. Looks like last week was a fully green week as well. And so I've been consistent, even though I've been hampered and hindered from kind of doing what I want and how I want, but I'm still executing. So I'm still engaged. I'm still present, and I'm still moving forward. I'm keeping my eyes up. One of the things that I've had to try and focus on is just focus on what I can do and what I can't do. I can't run, but I can now get on the elliptical. I can ride. I can't ride as long as I would like to, but I wouldn't be riding that long anyway since I'm in taper. So, I'm executing the plan. So that was it for the strength. I got it on like I said, I got all my core and strength sessions. I had. So let's go into just the general, like what I'll call the small stuff. So this is going to be kind of like my insights from the week, where, the focus is on really being purposeful with the small things, and where I've kind of like taken my mind this week. So I didn't soak my legs as much as I did last week in the cold plunge tub. It looks like I did just one session in the cold plunge. I didn't have a whole lot of time to make that happen, but I was purposeful with the other stuff that I was doing because I added some extra PT appointments in there this week. So I had a massage that was on Wednesday, and I went in the next day to get some dry needling done from my PT, and she worked pretty well on trying to get the mobility of the ankle back because it's pretty locked up, and so it's really, really stiff. And so she worked on, trying to free that up a little bit, see if I can get a couple pops out of that ankle to loosen it up a little bit, and then got in some dry needling. The next day, so that was on Thursday, and then Friday I went back again because I wanted to try some KT tape. There is KT wrapping at the expo, and so I'm considering, getting my foot wrapped to try and add some support to that area. But I didn't want to kind of wait until, race weekend to try KT. So I came in and my PT was able to put some KT wrap on my leg just so I can kind of see what the tension is like of the tape and then where it's providing support. Overall, I think it was helpful, but ultimately I think I can get the similar kind of support from just wearing a plantar fasciitis sleeve that comes up to the ankle, comes over the ankle. I feel like I got the same kind of support. The only difference is I can't wear the sleeve like in the water. So will I kind of tape on race day? I don't really know. I mean, it's not going to hurt. So I may still probably do it. Now, whether I race with the sleeve or not, that's a different question. I haven't decided on that one yet. The only reason that I would be concerned is sometimes when you wear something that constricting and that tight for a prolonged period of time, it can actually increase the fatigue of that area, and it doesn't allow for the expansion. When you start to swell a little bit by taking in, carbs and salt and all that kind of stuff, it hinders that natural expansion of your leg to accommodate for that. So I don't know if I will be doing that. I am wearing some calf sleeves. I've enjoyed wearing them. I found some nice ones, and I got my calf sleeves through Zoot Sports. They're not like medical compression. They're like athletic compression. So it's just snug. I wouldn't say they're even tight, and they're not compression, but you can feel kind of just a little bit of pressure. And I think that that's good. And I've enjoyed training with them. So I definitely plan on racing with those as well. But so on that Friday, she wrapped and did a little bit more ankle mobility to see if we can, just continue to work on it, man. Just trying to free that thing up a little bit. And it started to feel better. That was a lot of therapy to do over the span of like 3 or 4 days in that area. So I didn't do very much therapy on Saturday and Sunday because of that. I don't want to overwork it, but I want to stimulate it enough to try and get the mobility, but not train it. So there's a fine line between those two things. So I think that the dry needling is working. The massages definitely work. I actually have one scheduled for next week as well. So race week, but it's earlier in the week to allow her to get in and kind of work those tight muscles, do a little bit of a flush, but some focused attention on some of those problem areas. But I purposefully scheduled it earlier in the week to give my body a chance to recover from the massage. So I'm not going into the race a little bit sore because of the massage. So that's about it. For next week, I've got I got 2 more PT appointments, like I said, and I got a massage scheduled as well. So that's a lot of PT to try and get done, Monday through Wednesday, because we leave Thursday. And so, I'm going to work this ankle a little bit, try and get it to free up and get some mobility in there. I am able to kind of like roll my foot. So if I do like circles with, point my toes out and then kind of do some circles. I wasn't able to do that before, but now I've gotten it to where I've got some more mobility. I can feel the tightness of the soleus muscle and the gastroc muscle, which are your calf muscles. I can feel that tightness. So there's been a couple mornings where I've gotten up, and with the permission of my PT, and bless her so much, I messaged her on Instagram, and I felt really bad about it because it was outside of her office hours. And, she's got, kids and everything. She's got a life outside of the office, but I felt bad because I didn't want to do something without kind of like her permission, because I didn't want to do something that I was going to regret and put more stress on something. So I sent her a message and I said, hey, can I break out the Theragun, but just put my focus on the gastroc muscle and the soleus muscle and work those without putting direct percussion on the tibia tendon, and just kind of work the back of the leg, because I can feel that tightness. And she didn't get back to me right away, which is perfectly reasonable. But I did wake up the next morning, and she's an early riser as well. And there was a message waiting for me. She was like, absolutely, go ahead and do that. That's no problem. Keep me informed on how things are going. So bless her, she was so incredibly gracious with doing something like that. So I'm really blessed to have such a good team. Where I go to Active Performance and Recovery here in I think technically it's Midlothian, Virginia, or if it's in Richmond, Virginia, Richmond proper, but that's where I go. I use Dr. Trisha is the PT, and then Dr. Hancock and Dr. Green are the two chiropractors. The whole team, I've been going to them for years. This was back when, before I did my first Ironman, I was going to Dr. Green, and they've just been part of my quote unquote team to try and fix problem areas, keep me healthy as possible. And they are absolutely fantastic. And that's where my masseuse is at. So Sam is also there. It's an incredible place. I send my athletes there. I've sent my wife there. Everybody who asks me, hey, I'm looking for someplace, to help me with a problem, it's by far the only place that I recommend. And I'm thankful for them. But, she gave me permission, so I went ahead and started working a little bit on those calf muscles every once in a while. I don't want to overdo it again. I am kind of monitoring how often. Tonight, after I do this recording, I'm going to try and maybe get into the Normatec. I had some therapy done today, and it's feeling a little puffy and a little sore, so it'd be a nice time to kind of get into Normatec and get that blood moving a little bit, kind of flush out some fluids, and maybe I'll try and take the Theragun to the calves a little bit and work those before I get in. But it's all kind of up in the air because I'm trying to get this video done and get this all recorded for you guys. But that's about it. Therapy is crucial. I know that Sam, my masseuse, has played a vital role in my preparation for this race, and I couldn't be more thankful of how she's helped me and what she's done for me during this training plan. So I'm so incredibly thankful to her and Dr. Trisha for really kind of stepping in and really helping me in these late stages and doing what we can, and sharing advice and insights and, coaching advice a little bit. It's like, she's kind of helped me kind of bounce ideas off of. So, I'll talk to her and then, she'll give me some feedback. And so that's valuable. If you have somebody like that, or if you have a team of people that you trust, that is worth its weight in gold. So I'm thankful for that group. The only thing else that I can think of is something that I've been thinking a lot about this week is just my trust. There have been a couple times this week where I've really kind of battled the temptation to get on the treadmill just to kind of see where I'm at. I know as a coach, if an athlete came to me and said, like, I want to see where I'm at, I would probably tell them no. It's too soon. If you can't walk across the gym floor, then what makes you think that you'd be able to run on a treadmill? But it's that A-type personality. We really kind of want to assess and gain some kind of at least an idea on where you could be on race day, just so that you can come up with plans for how you're feeling that day. If you're feeling good, what's the plan that I want to execute? If I'm not feeling good, well, that's a whole different plan. So I think there's a little bit to that. And I think it's reasonable. I think it's a responsible approach, because we want to try and control the controllables. And if we have plans, we should have plans on different scenarios and, trying to execute those. It's like, okay, if this happens like this, and this is how I'm feeling, then let's do this. That way you feel more prepared. And I think that, I think God's trying to teach me a little bit more on that trust, and, with the perception of control and the perception of that I can plan for that. Because I was sitting down with somebody that I trust greatly and was talking about it, and she said, do you believe that God can heal you? And I said, yes, without a doubt. Is he able? Absolutely. And then I said, and so I said, because, I've prayed for healing before, I've got a lot of issues that I've had to deal with over the years, and he's never saw it. It was never in his plan to take some of these issues away. And so part of me is a little skeptical on, what he would do, because I believe he's just given me the personality to endure it. And that's kind of what I believe. But I do believe that in the power of healing, without a doubt. And so she said, well, if you believe in the power of healing, but you're skeptical on whether he will do it or not, then do you really have faith and trust? And it is valid, completely valid argument. And I said, you know what, you're right. And so one of the things that I've been just mulling over in my mind, and I just kind of get this feeling kind of like down in my spirit, is that I may not be able to run until race day. So, I feel like he's not allowing me to run, because if this ankle felt good, I would be running without a doubt. I know me enough to where, yeah, I would be trying to do something to try and get that momentum back. But honestly, I have just this gut feeling that I'm not going to know on if I'm going to be able to run until I get off the bike on race day. And one of the things that I've learned throughout my life is that God's provision shows up when it's needed, not when it's wanted. I want it now. Do I need it now? No, because I have trust in him. And so he'll deliver on his timetable, not mine. And whether I have the race that I envisioned in week 1 and the performance that I envisioned in week 1, it's yet to be seen. I don't know. But I know that I have prayed over the past few weeks, Lord, just give me the race that you want me to have, not the race that I want to have or that I feel like I should have. Most of the times, what he provides is far exceeds my expectations that I have of myself. And so, what he provides is far greater than what I ever imagined and envisioned. And so that's just something that I'm going into race week believing and holding on to, is that I believe in the power of healing. I believe in the power of prayer. And I believe that this is a true test of my trust and faith in him. And so if it means that I get up on race morning and my ankle still bothers me, so be it. I'll still get in that water and I'll still swim my race. I'll come out, get into transition, head out on the bike and execute my plan, have fun, hopefully be able to observe my fitness and all the hard work that I've put in on the bike and be able to observe it on that day. And then when I get off the bike, that will be the time where I believe I'll be able to run. And that's the way that I'm going to approach this. It's hard. I can tell you it is excruciatingly hard just to battle my own desires and my own flesh and my own insecurities and looking for some source of confidence in myself, where I shouldn't be looking for confidence in me. My confidence should be in him and in his provision. And he always steps in right when it's needed. And he's done it in multiple areas of my life before, where it's like, wow, that was right on time. It would have been nice to have been a little bit earlier, but it happened when it was absolutely needed. And that's what I am believing on race day. My PT suggested that, we go down on Thursday of next week, and so that gives us all day Friday and all day Saturday there in Florida. I gave myself that Friday off. Normally, I would have a little bit of a shakeout run from, being in the car and all that kind of stuff. Just do like a little short, little 20-minute shakeout run. And then on Saturday, I have a gear check ride where I just go on for like 20 or 30 minutes and I'm, cycling through gears and things like that, making sure things are shifting properly and I'm feeling comfortable on the bike and, just doing my due diligence and making sure that, my bike is race ready and is operational. But, she said, hey, why don't you try that shakeout run on Friday? And I told her that I probably would, but I'm not 100% there, because part of me is just like, well, if I try this shakeout run on Saturday or Friday, I'm kind of going against what it is that I said that I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to trust him. So uh, right now it's labeled as a rest day on the training plan. I'll make the call when I get there and see, because if it doesn't feel, if I can't walk without pain, I'm definitely not doing a test little shakeout run. That's not smart. So that's where I'm at this week. This is a true test of my faith and trust in God's. I will say it's hard, because I'm going against what I feel is my personality and my human nature. And human nature is like, oh, we need reassurance, we need assurance, we need feedback, rather than just kind of sitting back and say, well, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to do the little things. I'm going to do as much as I can do on my side, and allow him to work on what is lacking and what's missing. That is challenging for somebody with my personality type, but this is his race. He gave it to me. He gave me the training plan. He gave me the wisdom to build the plan. This is the plan that I asked him that I needed, and this is what I have. So he goes before me, and he blazes the trail, like it says in Deuteronomy. That's kind of been my mantra, is just let him go. Just let him go ahead of you. Don't try and go out first, and don't pretend like we're in this together and we're equals, because that's not how the relationship works. So that's where I'm at. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode. Like I said, this is week 15 of the Ironman Florida 70.3 prep, and I'm looking forward to week 16, kind of dialing in some more things, getting race ready, all the packing and all that kind of stuff. It's a stressful week, not just training wise, but everything else that kind of has to get juggled. Still have to go to work and all this kind of stuff, and packing and last minute PT plans and all this kind of stuff. So it's a really, really busy week, really, really stressful. And knowing that the body doesn't differentiate between sources of stress. All it knows is that it's under stress. So stress is stress for the body. So managing this as best as I can, getting in some good quality sleep, hopefully, and sticking with the meal plan provided by Coach Katie for me, and rolling into the last week, man. This is coming up. We're coming up on race week. So I'm excited, anxious, nervous, all of it. All those emotions rolled in to the span of like 6 days. But again, thank you guys for watching. If you are listening to this on the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast, and you like these type of bonus casts that we've done, where, we've talked really, really in depth and vulnerable about our training, please let us know. Send us an email, send us a text message, and say, I really have enjoyed kind of the bonus content. We hope that you maybe do this for future races. If you found it helpful, if you found it insightful, or if you just really didn't get anything out of it, you can tell us that too. So, but we appreciate kind of any feedback that you can send us. Leave a review, leave a comment for the podcast. Those are absolutely greatly appreciated. We vowed from the very start to have no sponsors, no monetization of the podcast. And so this is all done as a labor of love, and all of the expenses come out of our own pockets for hosting and processing of the videos and podcast episodes. So we thank you guys for taking the time to share this journey with us. It really does mean a lot. Again, you can go to the Tabula Rasa Racing website and go to the Ironman Florida 70.3 page. You'll find all the videos from this series. You'll also find the weekly training plan that's out there and the downloadable PDFs. Feel free to peruse the rest of the website. There's a bunch of other stuff on there too, blog and announcements and race reports. I have a section of the website where I have some of my previous race reports from my own races that I've hosted up on the site. So you can download those PDFs and kind of see how I approach a race debrief for my athletes and for myself as well. So you'll get some nice insights from those, all kinds of content on there. So please go out to tabularasaracing.com and check that out. Follow us on all the social medias. We have Instagram, Facebook. I'm not all that active on X. I do have a profile on X, but I'm not active on it. Please follow us, like us. We have multiple pages, groups, and all this kind of stuff. So please check us out. So again, thank you guys for tuning in to week 15 of the Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. I've been your host, Coach Justin, head coach and owner of Tabula Rasa Racing, and I will talk to you guys again next week. Happy training. See you later.